welcome back. Oh boy, here's a question for you. Did you know that your mind and your gut are connected? Yeah, and we're going to talk about that today. My name is Dacquino. Our guest is Melani Sessa.
Hi, Vin. Thanks so much
Melani,
for having me.
What? My
Yes.
mind is connected to this gut?
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
I don't even want to hear what it's saying to it. Talk to me. What are you talking about?
Well, it's so interesting that you say that because we know that our mind and our gut are connected, right? Don't you sometimes when you get nervous or stressed about something, you feel butterflies?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you know it's connected
Absolutely.
this way. But what science has recently learned, and this is in the past 5 or 10 years, is that the health of our gut actually affects the condition and health of our mind.
Oh,
so it's
no,
a
my
two-way
mind is in
street.
trouble.
Oh no. Well, that's why being healthy is so important. And
Yeah.
that's what I advocate and share with people is how to create a healthy gut mind environment. Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating.
So, talk to me first about Melani. Melani, who are you?
Yeah, so I am a mom. I live in Somers, New York. I have 3 great kids, husband, and my background is actually not in wellness. There's a really great story of how I became wellness. I actually have a master's degree in international business.
Wow.
And a bachelor's degree in Spanish. So that was my focus. Worked in corporate marketing for many years, and when we had our children, I stayed home, but I always wanted to do something. Did a couple of different things, and then in 2002 we had a devastation in our family where someone that I cared about deeply died of cancer.
Oh, man.
And so at my young age I was wondering, why is someone so young getting so sick and dying, leaving 2 toddlers behind? So I just self-educated. I read whatever I could, I watched whatever movies I could to find out why we get sick. And guess what, Vin? Guess what I found? Whatever you do to your body, whatever you put in your body through your mouth, through your eyes, through your mind, what you do to your body with exercise, your environment, it all affects our health.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, but to me it was mind-blowing. And
Your body is your temple.
it is, and what I'm going to do with that information, I had to go forward and share that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cancer is devastating, and when it
It is.
affects kids, it's even more. I'm wearing 2 bracelets. A little boy named Ray has brain cancer. Not the first. There have been so many children that we've lost. It's always a frightening thing.
It
It was one of the scariest things about teaching for me always, that I look out there at those kids and think, what could happen to them?
Yep.
And the fear that they may never see what middle age or old age is.
Yeah.
So we have to respect and listen to our bodies at all times. Now you actually have been guided by a book. You were influenced.
I was
by a book.
influenced by a book, but I was also influenced by personal experience. So the book that I point people to is called The Mind-Gut Connection.
There it is,
by
The Mind-Gut
a doctor
Connection.
named Emran Mayer. He's a gastroenterologist and a neurologist, so he understands
Wow.
both of those
Oh,
areas of
that's
our
good.
body. And he's actually on the scientific board of a company that I love. And that book is amazing. Just what happens in our mind.
What is it? What did that book say to you?
Oh, well, there's a lot involved, but anything that we experience, any trauma, even trauma that our parents experienced, can affect us. And so if trauma affects us, it also affects us in a physical way in our gut. And that was mind-blowing for me.
So when people say, well, go with your gut,
Yeah.
that really is substantial.
It is, and the gut actually, our GI system contains 100 trillion bacteria.
Oof.
So we're actually made up of more bacteria than human
wonderful.
cells. So if we're more bacterial than human, then we need to focus on
wow.
that bacteria and create a healthy environment.
And this is relatively new thinking, isn't it?
It is within the last 5 to 10 years. We used to think
Wow.
that if we had a problem with our mind, we should focus on the mind. But now we're finding that we have a second brain.
Our bodies send messages messages all the time
Yep.
to our brain.
That's correct. Our gut is considered our second brain, and that's because of the neurotransmitters that our mind emits. Our gut emits even more dopamine, more serotonin. And so if we create a healthy gut environment, that's called a microbiome. There's a good word for you.
Yeah,
we create a
wow.
healthy gut microbiome. It brings better and better amount of neurotransmitters, the dopamine, the serotonin, the GABA.
So
that we're
controlling
healthier.
our gut is controlling our thinking?
In a way, I guess you could say that. Yep.
Wow.
That's exactly right. So people who deal with mood disorders like stress, anxiety, depression, tension, irritability can all have a better experience of life to alleviate some of those mood disorders by creating a healthy gut.
Wow. So how do you create a healthy gut,
That's
Melanie?
an excellent question. So some of the things that we can do include our food choices, right? We are what we eat. And so things that contain healthy bacteria like yogurt, like...
So a banana split isn't necessarily good for us?
No, not really, but it is tasty.
Yes, it is.
So healthy gut bacterial foods, yogurt, kimchi,
Yeah.
sauerkraut, but also probiotics.
Sauerkraut's good for you?
Mm-hmm. Fermented, a fermented food. Also probiotics, prebiotics, and phytobiotics.
I've lately heard that word over
Yeah,
those words
I bet
over
you have.
probiotic, prebiotic. What is that?
So that's another great question, and it seems to be the word of the day. So
Yeah.
a probiotic is actually pro and biotic. It's biotic means life, and pro means you want to encourage life. So
Oh,
a probiotic in your gut actually encourages
Pro-life.
life. Exactly. So a probiotic is a healthy bacteria. And so our gut is contains bacteria, bad bacteria and good bacteria, and we want more good bacteria. So a probiotic helps to create a healthy bacterial environment in your gut. The prebiotics are the food for those probiotics because they need to eat. They're live organisms, right? So we need to make sure we're choosing the correct strain of probiotics because there's many, many strains. So you could actually be taking a probiotic that will help with your diarrhea, and it's really meant to help for your IBS. So what I mean is you have to make sure you're taking the right strain for the right symptom and the right results you want in your body, and the correct prebiotic that matches with that probiotic to allow it to thrive in your gut.
Melanie, how do we learn this?
Well, you talk to someone like me.
Yep.
You talk to your doctor. You actually, there's some tests you can take to find out what's going on in your body and what it needs to thrive. And
all bodies are different.
every body is different, but you know what's interesting is that Hippocrates, you recognize that name, back in 300
Yeah,
BC.
wow.
Hippocrates, who's the father of medicine, he said, all disease begins in the gut. So he knew back
Wow,
then
way back
that
then.
this was the cradle of our health was the gut.
Yeah, because you're putting things into your body.
Yeah, and not only that, the lining of our gut contains up to 80% of our immune system.
Wow.
Yeah, so when we create a healthy gut, we actually affect our physical health as well, not just our mental health.
Does the size of the gut matter?
The size of the gut, no, it doesn't matter. It depends on the ecology of the gut.
So people with a big gut
Well,
aren't
no, that's-
necessarily unhealthy?
That's different. Your gut
That's
is your
different?
GI system.
Inside. So,
Your inside.
so when we talk about
Large
gut, we're not talking about
intestines.
your belly.
No.
We're talking. Okay, so that's important.
That's a very
so
good
what
question.
So what's the difference between your belly and your gut?
So people use the word gut to say, oh, look at my gut. But that's not the scientific
Not
reference
true.
to
Okay.
it. Your gut is your GI tract.
All right.
Yeah, what goes on your stomach, your
So
intestines.
the gut is what's internal,
Exactly.
not external.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Great question. Yeah.
That's why I have a show.
I know.
So, all right. So that's important. So keeping a healthy gut is very important.
It's very important for overall health, both mental and physical health. Yep.
So eating right
Eating right is
is
important.
thinking right.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what's really interesting about our food supply, Vin, is that our food supply doesn't have all the nutrition all by itself that we need.
Especially today. I
Well,
mean, there's
especially
so
today.
many chemicals and so many
Yeah.
things in there.
Well,
you know.
processed foods are a problem, but even foods that are grown in the soil, our soil has been depleted of nutrients over the years. So one of the figures I read is that you have to eat 5 oranges today to get the nutrition of oranges back in the 80s.
Wow.
So 1 to 5. we can't eat that much. We can't. So we definitely need to supplement our diet in some way. And so someone like me or your doctor or nutritionist can recommend supplements to help promote a healthy gut. And the gut is also interesting because a lot of diseases and conditions have been linked to the guts. Things like autoimmune diseases like gout, like rheumatoid arthritis, colitis, so fibromyalgia. I'm actually working with someone right now with fibromyalgia who's had great results by changing the way she nourishes her gut microbiome.
Wow.
Pretty interesting, right?
So when did this all start for you?
So this is a really great question. So mental wellness is something that is very meaningful to me. About 10 years ago, someone who I care about started experiencing symptoms of dementia. And dementia is a mental wellness issue. And so that, we say a lot when we talk about our health that, oh, you know, I'm going to die anyway, right? But don't you want your entire life to be the healthiest and thrive? So now this person, 10 years later, they're alive, but they're not thriving.
Quality versus quantity.
Exactly, exactly. So
it's not the number of years, it's the quality of the years you live.
it is. I would love to be as the healthiest as I can be till the day I die, so I can thrive and be there for my family and my friends and educate people about what's important. You know, once we lose our health, it takes a lot of time and money to get that back. So it's important to invest in your health. It's an investment, not an expense.
There you go. I like that. It's an investment, not an expense.
Yeah. So mental wellness personally is meaningful to me, but then also in people that I know who have chosen to take their lives. And why do people choose to take their lives? Well, we have some depressing statistics in our country right now.
And I think you have, there we go, depressing statistics.
So these might be some reasons why people feel that so hopeless. The first one is that the World Health Organization has determined that stress is the #1 health epidemic of the 21st century. And we can go more into what stress does to your body, but all of us can say that we've experienced stress on some level.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many reasons. The world can be a very depressing place.
It can, but it can also be a wonderful and beautiful place. It depends on what you focus on. But sometimes we can't positive think ourselves into happiness.
So think positively.
Sometimes you need help to think positive.
Yeah.
You know, we already talked about how the condition of your gut actually affects the dopamine and serotonin.
Yeah.
So if you physically...
How you look and how you feel and how you eat affects your mind.
Exactly. And some of the other statistics up there is 100 million Americans suffer with chronic pain. And so if we can alleviate the pain, we feel better because physical and mental health are connected. If you don't feel good physically, you're not going to feel like getting out of the bed and going to work, and there you miss a day of work, and that has its own results.
So there's a direct connection between physical and mental health.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's some other figures up there that children deal with depression.
800,000 people die of suicide each year.
That's the size of South Dakota. Imagine South Dakota gone every year. And suicide is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I've obviously, you know, I know people
work
who've
with
experienced
veterans.
That. Oh.
Poetry and writing, and help them to find the source of their depression.
That's phenomenal.
And it's amazing. Things that don't seem like they would bother you do. They sit in the back of your mind and haunt you day in and day out.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing. The other thing that frightens me is suicide in children.
Yes.
And today more than ever, there's young teens who give up. They just give up.
They do.
And if we can teach them a healthier way to live, we'd be saving more lives every day.
You're right. You're right. So we agree that health and wellness is a multifactorial approach. It's a holistic approach. So it's mental, it's what we expose ourselves to, it's our physical, and so on.
Now you also have, let's see, 90% of adolescents have a depression disorder before the age of 18? That's scary.
It is. It is. Kids are dealing with a lot of stress. As a mom of 2 teenage boys, I see it. There's a lot of stress put on kids now that never been before, through schoolwork or sports or just being part of the crowd. So
you feel that there's a direct correlation between depression and diet?
I believe that there is, yeah. I believe that we can change the way we feel by nourishing our body.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's a cure for dementia. I think it will alleviate that mood
Yeah.
a little bit better. And if we feel better, then we make better choices.
Yeah.
We have more hope.
You know, the more I think about it, there are foods that make me sluggish.
Yes.
There are foods that slow me down.
Yeah.
And there are foods that speed me up.
You're exactly right. So think about if you ate processed foods day in and day out for a week. Your body would feel very different. So then your mind would feel very different. You would make different choices.
Hot dogs scare me.
Hot dogs scare me. They scare me
Processed-
too.
I mean, it is amazing when you see how many chemicals and things that are added to the food.
Sure.
You know, I remember one of the first amazing facts was that a Twinkie can live longer than most humans.
Right. And so if you're putting that into your
In
body,
your
that
body,
preservative,
it has to
what's
affect it.
going on? And I want to share, just point a little bit to the stress. You know, it is the number one health epidemic because stress over a period of time releases something in your body called cortisol. And cortisol, yeah.
Cortisol,
So
okay.
it actually helps create that muffin top, you know.
Oh,
but what happens with chronic stress, cortisol over a period of time will actually affect your thyroid hormones and your insulin function.
Wow.
What goes on with your insulin. And so that over a period of time becomes something that we call catabolic, which means it starts to affect your cells, which creates inflammation. And we know that inflammation leads to disease. So we have to back up and say, okay, let's first manage our stress so that these other things in our body don't occur.
Wow.
It's important. Focus on your stress.
So controlling your diet could be controlling your mindset.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, we know that's true. We know it just from the things that we eat, the decisions that we make based on the things that we feel in our body, right?
So you coach people?
I do. I do. I help people. I coach people. I
You
recommend
say you
products.
shouldn't be eating this, you shouldn't be eating that, you should be eating this.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Affects it.
important because you know what? I'm of an age where, you know, things are going to start to change.
Yep.
And
do.
what we do to our body in our 20s and 30s and 40s actually affects how it's going to function in our 50s and 60s and 70s and so on.
So woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah. The other interesting fact about the whole probiotics and what we do to our body is that if you've ever taken an antibiotic for something,
Yep.
which we all have,
Yep.
that actually not only wipes out the bad bacteria that we want it to, but it also
good
affects the good
one.
bacteria.
Yeah.
So once we have an antibiotic that we take, we need to repopulate our gut with healthy bacteria through probiotics.
So when you try to cure one thing, you might be hurting another.
You will.
And you have to be aware of that.
You have to be aware of that because sometimes when we do take our antibiotic and get rid of whatever it is that we're trying to alleviate, a few days later we'll get sick because that healthy bacteria has been compromised.
So you have to not only be aware of what to take to feel better, but you have to be aware of what to take to continue feeling better.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm learning.
You are. That's. I love learning and I love teaching. As
Yeah.
a matter of fact, I teach at a local college.
Really?
I do. I teach business courses.
Wow.
And that's kind of why I got into this as well. I love to teach.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about health.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about wellness.
You know, the whole idea of this show is people and their passions.
Yeah.
And your passion is so obvious.
Oh, well, thank
and
you.
it's important. When you lose passion, you lose a desire to keep going
It's true.
forward. And that's what happens. I mean, I've seen it in young people who have just said, why do I do this? Why am I even bothering? There's just no purpose.
Yeah, it's depressing.
And to create passion is to create purpose. So a passion for living could begin with what you're putting into your body.
Absolutely, absolutely. Health is multifactorial. What
Yep.
you do to your body, what you put in it, your
Yep.
environment, what you think about. Mindset is huge. Mindset
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah.
Because what you, one of my favorite expressions is what you focus on expands. So each of us has positive and negative things going on in our life at all times, correct?
Yep. Oh,
but
yeah.
if you choose to...
And we're surrounded by
Yeah.
negative things.
But
I mean, you can't watch the news
Right.
without seeing something
Right.
that is depressing.
Sure. You're absolutely right. But you know, it's also an interesting fact is the body cannot be angry and happy at the same time.
Yeah.
So if we choose to
Yeah.
focus on the great things we're grateful
Yeah.
for, the
Yeah.
positive things in our life, it actually can change the whole composition of our
In the
our life.
last 10 years, I have been never more aware of the fact that it's not what I want that matters, but wanting what I have
Oh, that's
that
fantastic.
matters. And I say that to myself. Well, every time I want something, I say, but what do you already have? And there's so many things I already have, so many things I have to be thankful for. And so many people get lost in what they wish they had,
Yeah.
never realizing that there's people behind them who would give anything to have what they already have.
You're right.
And I say that, you know, and as crazy as it seems, one of the things that used to move me forward when I was younger, is I used to think, what if I suddenly was 50 years older, looking back on today? Everything that I have today, I would cherish 50 years from now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, guess what? I already have it.
Yeah.
Why wait 50 years to wish for what I already have today?
That's
So I
fantastic.
appreciate each day and what I have, all the things that I have. You know, I don't need more. I need to appreciate what I have.
Be content with those things that you have.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. And the body's one. Gut is another. To appreciate the fact that you already have. I mean, the body is amazing. It's amazing.
It's a beautiful
When I
design.
hurt, it's my body talking to me saying, don't put your hand that way. Don't rest. You know, carpal tunnel. You know, if you hold, people with carpal tunnel, if you hold your hand this way, your hand will go numb. So don't put your hand that way, and your hand won't go numb. You know, you do really have to be aware of who you are, what works for you, and what doesn't work for you.
It's true. There are simple solutions. It's just
Yeah.
doing them.
Talk to me about some of those simple solutions.
So simple solutions for health and wellness are choices of food. You know, sometimes we get overwhelmed. Oh, food and exercise and pick one thing. Pick one
Sometimes
thing
a
and
good
start with-
apple could satisfy you just as much as a slice of pizza.
Well, you'll feel differently after you eat
after
it.
you've eaten, that's right.
Both physically and
Yeah.
mentally, right? So, and exercise. Exercise is so important to keep our bodies moving.
You have to keep going.
If
And
you're-
it doesn't have to be weightlifting.
It doesn't
it
have
could
to
be a
be.
walk.
It is, although there is advantage is to resistance for a lot of things in our body, for our bone mass, but if it's a walk, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, an outside walk is wonderful.
Yeah.
Take your dog, take your neighbor's dog. Start a dog
just
service.
go
start
for a
walking service.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things. Supplementation is huge because we don't get what we need from our food. So we need to fill in the gaps with the vitamins and the minerals and the other things that our
Yeah.
body needs to thrive.
Goes all the way back to Emerson and Thoreau, who were trying to teach us to enjoy, smell the flowers.
Yeah.
You know, go for a walk.
Without your
enjoy the
cell
world
phone.
that you already have. So many people are so busy climbing that they're climbing past the things that they really need to appreciate and enjoy.
You're right.
Well, speaking of climbing and appreciating, we're getting near the end.
Okay.
So sum this up for me.
So your gut is your second brain. We need to.
Your gut
is
is your second brain.
Yes. Our mind and our gut are directly affected.
And your gut isn't necessarily your belly.
No, it's your gastrointestinal system. Your gut and the lining of your gut, which is where your immune system, most of your immune system is located, will affect your overall health. So focus on your gut. A healthy gut creates a healthy body and a healthy mind.
Okay. I like that.
That's to sum it up.
Yep.
And you know, our mind is a very powerful thing. If we, whatever we can do to help it to thrive.
And there are some products that could help us too.
There are products. There's products that I'm very passionate about that I could share. It's, you know, a system that is
And
all
you have a
natural.
website?
I do have a website. I think we're gonna.
And I
post
think
that
we've
up.
had that up there. If we could put that website up again just one more time, so people, there you go.
There it is. So you can check that out. You can also contact me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. That's
Yep.
my name.
And you'd
Melani
be willing to
Sessa.
talk with people?
Yeah, yeah. I've been through so much, so many personal stories that I would love to help people to thrive.
Yep. And don't be afraid to ask.
Nope. There's help out there.
Yep. And there's
definitely
not
help out
things
there.
we just necessarily automatically know.
Exactly. You know, we don't all aren't born knowing these things. You know, we need somebody to help us and guide us in every area.
And
of
you
life.
do recognize recommend the mind-gut connection.
I do. This book by Dr. Mayer is phenomenal.
So get to the library, get to see that. All right. Well, I certainly cannot thank you enough.
Oh, I can't thank you
for
enough.
coming
Thank you.
here and sharing this with us. We have but one life to live.
That's right.
And we should live it by understanding that gut feeling.
That's right.
When people say, I have a gut feeling, what they're saying is that there's a system in you that works directly with the mind. That mind-gut connection could make you a better person.
Healthier and better.
Be a better person. Appreciate your mind-gut connection and appreciate Melani Sessa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
a pleasure.
It has been absolutely our pleasure. Keep doing what you do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of us today.